Andrew had a right to be proud of the new castle. Everyone in the town was impressed. But whether the elegant Lady Catherine would be impressed when she arrived was another matter entirely.
Being bound by the duties attendant upon my station in life, and being my lord's obedient wife, I knew there was no choice but to go and make the best of it. So on April the 23rd, 1289, I arrived at the castle with my ladies-in-waiting, younger children and servants.
For much of our married life, I've been away fighting, wherever my king needed me. So Catherine has learned to manage the household on her own. She is as important to the proper functioning of our family and property as I am.
Master James and my lord spent 6 years making the castle the strongest in the land. I've set myself to work making it as elegant and comfortable as a castle can possibly be. I insisted that Master James install fireplaces in every room of our living quarters, even though it was costly. I think it much to the family's benefit to relax in these smaller, warmer rooms, away from the drafts and noise of the great hall, particularly in the winter when everyone is cooped up inside. I hung the walls with beautiful tapestries from Normandy and Flanders. And I also brought our collection of books from which the tutor Philip teaches our children. I set a great store in education.
I oversee the training of our own soldiers, and when there's time, I often join them for riding or hunting.
I must oversee all the servants, and though the soldiers may have much leisure time, I can always find something for the servants to do.
I was working in the forge on a quiet afternoon in May when a messenger arrived on horseback and asked to see Lord Kevin directly. His message: King Edward was coming for a visit in just a few days.
Our household has been thrown into a frenzy of preparation. And as I think back longingly to those glittering visits to the royal court, I am determined to make His Majesty's stay one that will not soon be forgotten. First, there is the matter of cleaning the castle. All of it. Then, accommodation. Lord Kevin and I will relinquish our own apartment for the King's use. Of course, we in turn will move to the steward's quarters. He to the chamberlains, the chamberlain to the marshals, the marshal to the butlers, and so on. The townspeople, meanwhile, are particularly excited about the royal arrival.
King Edward is making his entrance through town so that we can all catch a glimpse of His Royal Highness. Naturally, all business has stopped. It's not every day you get to see a king.
In the evening, we held a great feast for His Majesty. But the purpose of the King's visit is not entirely social, though the Welsh countryside has been relatively quiet of late. The King warned me that Prince Dafydd of Gwynedd is raising an army for an assault on all the English strongholds in Wales. His Majesty and I discussed strategy, long into the night.
The modern game of chess, which dates from about the time of Lord Kevin's castle, is a fairly accurate representation of medieval warfare. Battles were usually small by modern standards, and the real-life ratio between knights and their aides and squires, or pawns, was pretty close to what we see on this board.
Check.
Just as in the game, killing your opponent wasn't so much the object as cornering him and leaving him without options.
Which I just did. Checkmate.
So you did. Let's get back to the real thing. This is Harlech, one of Edward's castles that actually went through a bloody siege. In those days, this was a dry moat, and in order to reach the gatehouse, you climbed the causeway and crossed the drawbridge, very much the way I placed it at Aberwyvern. The whole concept of castle construction was to give the defender every possible advantage, and that began with the high ground on which they built. If there happened to be water or mountains too, so much the better.
Even today it looks impregnable.
And during the rebellion of 1294, only 37 men held off an entire army here. The first defense was the drawbridge. It spanned the moat and connected to the end of the causeway. There were weights under this end, and when the supports were pulled out, this end dropped down into a pit, and that end swung up.
But even if you could get across the moat, when the bridge was up, it became a solid door.
That's right. And there were also soldiers on either side of the gatehouse and above the main entrance.
Oh, yes, I see.
They were also protected by heavy wooden doors. And behind each pair of doors was a heavy oak drawbar, which slid across here and into that slot over there. A portcullis slid up and down in these grooves. Arrows could be shot through here. A second portcullis was here, a second pair of doors was here, and another drawbar across here. Now, if for any reason an attacking army was able to break through the gate, Sarah, you be the Welsh army and attack my castle.
I don't know about that. So it's to be English against Welsh again, is it?
Just to make a point, for the sake of history.
I think I'd rather have your part. David?
I'm all ready for you.
I think I know how the Welsh must have felt.
Of course. All right, now, come on forward, pretending you've made it over the drawbridge and through the outer gate.
Assuming I could.
And Master James was trying to make sure you couldn't, but let's say you did.
Very well, I battered my way through the door.
So you have. And as soon as you did, I dropped the portcullis behind you. Now you're trapped between two portcullises, and my archers can get you through the arrow loops. Checkmate. Now I can dump boiling water, burning coals, stones, possibly even a dead cat on you through this opening, called a murder hole.
I can see why.
You can also see what a mess you'd be in.
Well, of course, you had all the advantages.
That's what King Edward was paying for.
Then let's say I knew enough not to come through the gate and instead built a wooden siege tower up against the wall.
Then I'd dump burning straw down on you and set the tower on fire.
All right, then. Two can play at this game. What if I just sit outside and wait for you to starve?
Well, I might get hungry after a while, but don't forget I've got reinforcements on the way.
Then let's say I dug a tunnel under the castle wall and came in by surprise.
You'd be a very good general, Miss Bullen.
Then that is the best way.
I didn't say that. All of these methods were difficult and risky, including that one. But the fact that they were even tried says something about the tremendous strength of these castles.
Well, if they had to be built that strong, it must also say something about the spirit and determination of the Welsh people.
Absolutely right. They were a fiercely proud, brave, and independent people. And any English monarch who forgot that did so at his own peril. As part of his program in 1284, King Edward I named his son, who was born at Carnarvon, to be the first Prince of Wales.
And ever since that time, the eldest son of every English monarch has had the title of Prince of Wales.
Sarah, do you know what the king's first gift to his son was?
Let me guess. A toy castle.
You've got it. Let's get on with our story. Throughout the night, Lord Kevin's soldiers stood watch from the highest towers, while merchants, craftsmen, and farmers took turns manning the town wall. In the waters around the castle, Welsh ships prevented escape or new supplies reaching the English. And as the first light of dawn broke over the mountains, Prince Davith and his troops grimly marched toward Aberwyvern.
What lay in our way, we destroyed. The flour mill, the livestock barns, farmhouses. I ordered all the grain fields put to the torch. No longer will we suffer the presence of the cursed English in our land. We breached the town wall. Then, house by house, we fought up toward the castle wall.
A few fortunate townspeople made it into the castle ahead of their Welsh pursuers, who were trapped in the gateway between the portcullises. From high atop the gatehouse tower to the inner ward, Lord Kevin watched the destruction and slaughter.
If I could only send forces out to help the brave townsmen on the front line. But if I leave the castle without defences, the whole siege will be lost. And with the Welsh army closing in, I cannot open the gates for any more people escaping the carnage. But now, the battle has come to us.
Outside the castle walls, Davith's men assembled in force, preparing their siege towers and catapults. Inside the castle, archers stood poised, ready to unleash the first wave of arrows as the attackers came within their range.
My plan has been to cut off the castle from the land, while our ships cut it off from the sea, and to starve Kevin into surrender. But when my messenger came with news that King Edward had dispatched a large force from the north, I knew we could not wait.
They reached the wall. As one attacker fell, another took his place. Boulders, boiling water and arrows kept some away, while others had to be blocked directly on the point of a sword or axe.
My sappers are digging a tunnel under the wall. When they finish, the logs supporting it will be burned. Then the tunnel will collapse.